because it's so important that I have to do another live on it. And we get a lot of messages when I ask you guys on what content you like to see. Often people say, can you post something about marriage? And my wife, in her private clinic, she sees a lot of couples who are struggling in their marriage, or they've had an issue which is potentially going to, sorry, I just got something there, issue that's going to potentially break up their marriage. So they come in for therapy, right? They come in to see a psychologist because they're trying to save their marriage, and they invested in the marriage, and they want it to work, or they want to save it. So that's why they'll go to see a psychologist before making a decision like a divorce. And in some cases, it's the scenario is repairable. I don't know too many details because obviously it's patient confidentiality, so I don't really know too much about working with couples. She would be a good person to have on this live chat. But in terms of what I do know from my experiences of being married, it's going to be 9 years in a couple of months. So it's crazy. 9 years. I can't believe it. I don't know whether, I know you have like a golden anniversary, and does anyone know what a 10-year anniversary is? I think it's wood. So yeah, we've got our wood anniversary to look forward to. But in terms of what we've learned over this past 10 years, it's been really difficult. And anyone who's married and finds it easy, I don't know how you do it, but it's incredible. I was actually just going back to that whole communication thing. I do ask couples, like, how do you do it? And a lot of them say things like compromise. A lot of them just seem to have the personalities where they seem to be able to get by and do well together. But there's not that many couples that I know who do it well. One of my friends, Minnie, her parents sound lovely. Like, they sound like they're very much in love and are just as in love as they were when they met, and they're like been married for a crazy amount of time. Which is great. Like, I'd love to learn. So if you have any tips on how to have a successful marriage, then do message me, and then I can share it with other people, because I find it really difficult. So I think it's really hard. I know my wife finds it difficult putting up with me. So obviously this isn't to underplay the seriousness of it. Sometimes it just doesn't work. Sometimes there's challenges. Sometimes there's lots of like issues. And sometimes it might not be the best and most appropriate thing to stay together. So I'm not kind of backwards in thinking that. But Indrajit, Suk, Roman, hello Roman, Navtej, Varun, hello, Sasrikal. How you doing, bro? Good to see you. AJ Sin 93, good to see you, bro. Raj, you have to come around. It's been ages. I don't know when the last time I saw you was, but hopefully you're doing good. Raj, hope you're doing good. Tyler, good to see you. Patrina, we seem to not be able to get through to each other on the phone, so we're not having great luck with that. And Varun, good to see you too. Raj, yeah, I mean, it doesn't work for everyone, right? So you got to do what's right for you. And at the end of the day, I have a friend who I'm close to, and I didn't want him to get divorced, but actually, it was, his marriage was terrible. Like, seeing him how he was when he was like happy and in his kind of prime, to seeing him when he was with his wife, it was like, it was really sad to see, and it was just, it just like saps your, it's just, it was really hard to see him like that. So he seems a lot happier since. I was listening to an interview by the Dalai Lama, and he was talking about marriage, and he was like, marriage is a precursor to divorce. And I thought, wow, that is so negative. But that's his opinion, right? And they don't believe in marriage, right? Their beliefs, which is fine. But there's lots of benefits of marriage. Like, the statistics are that you're meant to be wealthier. I don't know how that works, but you're meant to be wealthier, and you're meant to be healthier. Men who are married tend to live longer. So there are benefits in most scenarios. Obviously, evidence doesn't take into account, research doesn't take into account individual scenarios. Like, some people, like, it's probably better off that they don't stay together. But this is just a generalization. So today's topic is about communication in marriage and communication in general, right? So big fan, Bruno. I'm a big fan of you too. I really appreciate everyone who engages, and I do. Anyone who comments, I do message you back. So do give me a heart and do message. I am not from Punjab. My mum is from Punjab. My mum is from district. I think it's district Jalandhar, but it's near Namashar. Her pind is Jaswal. I'm a big fan of Jaswal. I really like it there. I have these memories of sitting on the roof, and not the roof, but the roof is flat, so you're not kind of sitting on a roof like you do in England. But just sitting on the roof and with my hair out and just like watching the sunrise. And yeah, Punjab's beautiful. Well, it was. I haven't been back for 4 years, so since my son was born. But when I was in Punjab, it was beautiful. I lived in India for a year, and that was in Delhi. Was it in Delhi? Yep, that was a lot of fun with my grandparents. Who now my nanny passed away, so my nana has moved to my mama's in Canada. So we don't have as much family in India anymore, so we haven't been back. But yeah, Jaswal, great pind, is a Babbar Akali pind. There was like during the British and during the kind of freedom fighting movement, there were a lot of the freedom fighters were from Jaswal, so they have a rich history there. And my father's pind is like 15 minutes away from that, which is Gujbar, and yeah. So I will come to Punjab, and yeah, it'd be lovely to meet you. I'm thinking of taking my son and my daughter to the Panj Takhts, but not yet. So when my daughter she's 2 at the moment, when she hits about 4, then I'm planning to come to India and to I really like Manali as well. There's like so many parts of Punjab I want to take them to see, and then yeah, we want to do a tour of India. So hopefully get to catch up with you then, Varun. Which part are you in? And which part of India do you guys like, if you guys have been? So yeah, this India is something else, right? So back to the point. Marriage and communication. So it's very difficult, and lots of people say, oh yeah, do this, and it's easy, and and lots of people seem like they have perfect marriages, but actually I don't know anybody who has easy marriage or finds it like perfect. I do find that the British people, I find they're a bit more amicable than Indians can be. I think Indians are, from my experience, or the people that I know, tend to be a bit more fiery than the kind of middle class British people that I work with. They kind of just they even their arguments are like way more civilized, and yeah, so that's just, I don't know, that's just a very, very big generalization and stereotype. But a couple of things that I think are important to highlight, and that's what today's live call was about in terms of relationships, is that when I look into loads of books about happiness, and it all comes back to relationships. Now there's lots of things. When I say this stuff, people are like, yeah, but what about spirituality? What about all of that kind of stuff? And that's definitely part of your relationship, because that's your relationship with your God, your universe, whatever you may believe in. But the point is that it doesn't seem to be about money. Like, there's lots of research studies on lottery winners and how they win the lottery and then they're miserable. And there's actually one book on happiness I was reading, and the lottery winner actually said it was the worst thing that ever happened to him, because he ended up getting robbed. His son ended up becoming a drug addict and killing himself. So his wife left him. Lots of things happened to him, right? And his relationships changed, because obviously people knew that he was now a millionaire. So he went from poverty, or kind of not poverty as such, but being kind of an average Joe, to having 100 million. It can do a lot of things to somebody. So money isn't necessarily going to make you happy. And then when I look at the research, it seems like relationships are a really big key component to happiness. And marriage is probably going to be the closest relationship you have in your life, as well as your parents and your children. So having techniques to make those relationships amicable and make those relationships kind of happy and healthy is going to be really beneficial. So I've talked in a lot of lives about gratitude can really help improve your relationship, so that's an important one. Do give me a heart if you can hear me okay, because I know the music is a bit loud in here. So gratitude, definitely practicing that, and when you see the qualities in people, it makes you less kind of focused on the little things. The other thing, the book that I'm going to be writing about, the Split the Difference book, they talk about lots of techniques, which I'll be sharing I'll put it up in my post, and I'll do the post tonight, and just specific techniques on how you can improve your communication with the other person. But the main thing I find, one thing I'm working on at the moment, is your tone of voice. So this is something that we talked about in yesterday's live chat. So if you are talking in a calm tone, and it has an impact. So regardless of what you say, if you say it in a calm way, it can have an impact. The second thing is, and my cousin sister, Rajya, she doesn't have an Instagram, but she's really softly spoken, and she could be having a go at you, but you think she's saying something really nice because just the way she speaks. So that can have an impact. The second thing, and I think Peter Drucker used to say that politeness or manners are the lubrication in a relationship, and he was talking about from a business context when you're working with people, that it's very important, regardless of if you're the manager, to be very polite to people. And I think that's a really important thing in a marriage and in a relationship, whatever relationship that might be, to always be polite to the other person. Like, don't speak harshly, and always say thank you, please, and that kind of thing. I think that can go out the window quite soon, and it's worth maintaining that in a marriage, the politeness aspect of it, and working to do that. Like, I know to Darshko sometimes, like, can you close the door? But actually I should say, Vaiguji, can you close the door please, in a calm voice. But she's very lenient, she's very kind and compassionate, she lets me get away with a lot of stuff. But the tone is an important thing. And then the other thing that I found that from Split the Difference, and I'm becoming more aware of, is that when you have a conversation with somebody, there's two parts to the brain, right? Or there's lots of parts of the brain, but there's two ways to divide it. One is the kind of primitive limbic system, which is like fight or flight, aggression, like, rah, you said this to me, how dare you say that to me, right? And that's more the animalistic part, and the oldest part of the brain. And then the outer part, the neocortex, is the part which thinks about things, thinks about logic, and thinks about actually what's the best way to maintain this marriage, and what's the best outcome that I want out of this. Is it to win this argument, or is it to have a happy, healthy relationship and marriage? And like Basics of Sikhi is on the live chat, and Jugraj Singh, one of the things he said to me was, we were having a conversation once, and he was like, happy wife, happy life. And I know that's actually stuck with me, and actually it's really served me well, because if I ever have an argument with Darshko, I remember what Jugraj Singh said. So he's kind of saved my marriage. So as well as the other hundreds of thousands of people he's saved in different ways. But so going back to the point, was you're triggering someone's limbic system when you attack them. Like when my wife says to me, you never do this or you never do that, she's attacking me. Now if someone attacks you, like if you attacked a dog or a cat, what would they do? They'd fight back, right? So that's what I find happens with me and Darshko, and I think happens in a lot of relationships. So one person attacks the other person, and the other person is naturally going to get defensive, because nobody wants to be attacked. Nobody wants to be accused of something or be labelled, or So in order for you to not do that, you have to not trigger the limbic system, not trigger the primal brain, the animalistic brain in a person. You have to go above that to the neocortex, which is the thinking part, which is the logical part. And in the book it teaches you about calibrated questioning, which is one way to do that. So asking people about how and what do they mean by that, and that kind of thing, really kind of triggers the other part of the brain, which gets them thinking. And when you get people thinking, then they're not just reactive. And so this book, again, is made by the lead FBI investigator. And if you imagine in that kind of scenario, it's life and death, and if you trigger somebody's limbic system, they're going to shoot the hostage. So they're very good at keeping people in the neocortex, keeping them in the thinking brain and the logical brain. And then that prevents an escalation of words where you said this to me, you said that to me, you said this, now this is going to happen, now I'm going to do this, and then... Now I'm not saying I got this down, but it's just something I'm working on and sharing with you guys as I'm on this journey myself. So hopefully if somebody gets benefit out of it, then it's win-win, right? I get to learn and then share it with you guys, and then you get to benefit from it. So thank you very much for joining into this live chat. Let me know if it helps you. I hope you found value in it, and I hope it helps you in your relationships, with your relationships with your parents and your children, and your marriage, and any work relationships, any relationships you may have. Do give me a heart if you found value in this, and do anybody know who you think could benefit, do get them to take a look at my page and watch this live, so hopefully it helps as many people as possible. If you have any questions, do DM me and I'll get them answered in the next live. Have a great day. Thank you, Harun, my brother. I appreciate everyone who engages with these live chats. Amajit Kaur, good to see you. So do message me, and I will definitely get back to you, even if it's just to say hi.